What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Schreckbein, joined always by my main man, producer Nick Belsky. Find us on youtube.com/ All Steelers Talk, or subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they play their first game of the 2024 preseason in 26 hours from now, 27 hours from now. Crazy times. Football is officially back. We're going to dive into what the first walkthrough of the season told us. Obviously, some names to watch when we enter tomorrow when the Houston Texans come to town. Obviously, we got to talk Brandon Ayuk and everything that's going on there. And then, as we do every single day, we will answer all of your questions to make sure that we get and answer everything that you guys are looking to hear, learn, grow, and, well, probably get mad about, because this is football and that's what we do. Hope everybody's doing well. Nick, how you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm excited to see a large list of players. My list has grown throughout the preseason, the players that I want to see in these preseason games. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to sit down with my spreadsheet and kind of check off the boxes as I watch some of these guys suit up for the first time in Steelers black and gold.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you as well. I feel like at first my list was large, shrunk a little bit, and now has gotten continuously bigger, to a point where I'm like, ooh, okay, some guys like Corey Trice, who started as a guy I was very excited to watch, then became a guy I wasn't very excited to watch, and is now back to, oh, I am very excited to watch Corey Trice. There are a number of those guys, very excited to dive into that. Let's talk about what happened today. And I think the biggest question that I have is, Russell Wilson took exclusively almost all of the first team reps during this walkthrough today. It was very shocking how little Justin Fields worked with the first team offense the day before a preseason game, when Russell Wilson will not play and Justin Fields will. Left me with a bunch of questions as to why is this happening. But the Steelers seem to have a plan. Russell Wilson's out there. He's continuing to grow. I think if it was anything, it was an indication that, hey, please start paying attention to the pole position thing, because we are right back to where we were, and Russell Wilson didn't lose any ground in the last couple of days or a couple of weeks, I guess, and Justin Fields is still exactly where he was when training camp started, and so is Russell Wilson, which is 1 and 2, not 1A, 1B. It is 1 and it is 2. Do you take anything from Russell Wilson being out there other than maybe we just got a little bit too excited for a moment there when they were splitting reps the day that you were out here?
Yeah, whenever you mentioned that, and whenever I saw reports that Russell Wilson was the guy out there, I feel like it's more just reps, right? I mean, Russell Wilson was not out there for a large portion of the first week and a half, 2 weeks of training camp. He did have a lot of reps in OTAs, but again, that's OTAs. You don't have a full squad there. You don't have the full 90 man there. You're not getting as much work in as you do in these training camp practices in Latrobe. So that to me was, hey, Justin is going to get his opportunity tomorrow. Russ, if he doesn't, he's not playing tomorrow. So he's going to have 2 days off automatically the next 2 days. You need to get him some reps so he gets the bulk majority today, simply because he has just not had a lot of reps so far in training camp. That's the way I was looking at it, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that it was a slow progression and it'll continue to build. So let me ask this. I mean, we're going to dive into Justin Fields a lot tomorrow. We don't want to get too heavy into the Justin Fields talk today. But what does Justin, in your eyes, have to do to change that tomorrow? Does he have a better question here? Does he have any opportunity to change that tomorrow?
Again, we talked about it yesterday. I think tomorrow is an opportunity for him to build that track record for himself. There's no way
Yeah.
he's going to surpass Russell Wilson in a game that Russell Wilson's not playing in. So it'll be an opportunity for him to build a track record. It'll be an opportunity for him to build kind of a case for himself more, as he's been doing the last couple of weeks. We know tomorrow means a little bit more than a practice does. But again, it's building that case to eventually see where they can go between 1A, 1B, 2, 1, whatever you want to split it. Right now, it's Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields needs to continue just making his case, and tomorrow's a big opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I believe one preseason game, yeah, certainly helps, obviously. But just like you said, it's nothing is going to be set in stone, and it's not going to ultimately change everything. You're not going to go walk into camp on, when do they return? Sunday, and they're Justin Fields is the guy and everything's back to where it was before Russell Wilson returned. I agree. I look at it as confusing, but I understand their process. I just thought that this close to a game, like you're doing walkthroughs, shouldn't the guys that like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward weren't out there? Why is Justin Fields, or why isn't Justin Fields? Made a little bit of sense, or was a little bit confusing, but it is what it is. All right. I want to dive into guys to watch, but I think we should finish the show with guys to watch tomorrow because there is a billion questions about Brandon Ayuk, and obviously that is the hottest topic of conversation. So let's dive into where all of that stands. We'll address it a little bit. We will answer all the questions, and then we will go into our guys that we are watching tomorrow. That's where we'll finish the show. Where we stand currently is I woke up to an Athletic report saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't give a good enough offer to the San Francisco 49ers, and that the 49ers want a player. They prefer a wide receiver, but they'll take just about anybody. I talked to Mike DeFabo, who was part of that report this morning, and he said, yeah, they want a wide receiver. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense. George Pickens would be the name, but nobody's given up George Pickens. Jerry Dulac is saying that a player will not be included in a trade. There are a billion back and forth. Andrew Filipponi, who seemingly started all of this disaster, is tweeting out. Did you see his tweet this morning?
I did not know.
Go watch it after the show, man. It's a good one. It's a full song. It's an entire music video of a song. And everybody should go watch it. Everybody should go watch it. Let's dive into the questions and where that stuff stands. If you could find a couple, just in case there's one or two in the chat.
We have one from Aaron, excuse me. He says, is this even going to happen with Brandon Ayuk? Do you think that there's still a chance it happens?
Look, I stand strong with 70%. I think yes. I think it leans heavily towards yes, but it's no guarantee. Nothing is a guarantee. The people I have spoken to have said that the word optimism is there, but to the degree that people are saying it is might be a little bit far-fetched, that they believe that things will work out in their favor, but there has to be some middle ground. Otherwise, this would have happened already. If everybody was if the Steelers were oh, this is going to happen, there's a guarantee, just wait, it's going to get there, as some of these people are saying that it is, a deal would have already been done. It would have moved a lot quicker than that. It's definitely not to the degree of some people and some reports or some rumors, and it is more so they need to find some middle ground, but they are trying to find some middle ground, and the Steelers are optimistic that they're going to be able to. I think the other side of this is that everybody thinks that the Steelers being optimistic and that all these reports saying how close they are is they're taking it as the Steelers are about to fleece the 49ers. That's where the optimism needs to be held back, because right now where we stand is the 49ers are trying to not be fleeced, and that makes a lot of sense. So they have to find more middle ground than where it is right now. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I still stand strong at that 70%.
Let's go to Casey Benson, who wants to know if we do get Brandon Ayuk, who has the bigger year, him or George Pickens?
I think it could be neck and neck. I really think it could be neck and neck. I think Brandon Ayuk is a 1,300-yard receiver on any team in the National Football League, but I wouldn't be surprised if George Pickens is a 1,300-yard receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. So I think it would be neck and neck. I don't know. I think I might lean a little bit heavier towards Ayuk, but I think if you catch me on the right day, I'd lean heavier towards George Pickens. So it would be right there, 1 and 2.
Let's go to Michael Schock's question, and shout out to Michael, of course, as always. He says,
as always,
do we trade for Ayuk mid-season so the price would be cheaper, although it would be hard getting him acclimated mid-season? Or do we bite the bullet and trade more for him now and have him to gain chemistry?
Yeah, I don't know if it has I get the question, but I don't know if it has everything to do with chemistry and more so just it's if you get him now, you solve so many things. Like you don't have to worry about the contract extension, which is a massive issue here. You sign him to that extension. You figure all that out right now. During the season, I don't know if the price would be cheaper. That would be assuming that he's not going to play. And if he doesn't play, yeah, it probably is cheaper because the 49ers are looking at it and saying, well, we're not just going to let him walk for nothing. But at the same time, guys who don't play during the season become a much bigger risk to how well can they acclimate back into the system. And I think every day that he misses is a problem right now. So I would say right now is the better bet. If he sits during the season and you trade for him midseason, I'm a little less, I'm more cautious to hand him $30 million a year and feel okay with it.
Let's go to RJ Stanley, who says, I've seen San Francisco now wants 2 first rounders. Is that true?
I don't know. I've heard that, and to be honest with you, Jim Wexell reported that, and I trust everything Jim Wexell says for the most part. So I think that that is true, but I would imagine that there are numerous the San Francisco 49ers want. It's they want 2 first rounders, they want this, they want this, they want. There's not just one set price for Brandon Ayuk. They're going to work out something. I would imagine 2 first rounders was asked for it, but look at Tyreek Hill was the only wide receiver who went for 2 first rounders, and he should have been. So there's no other guy, not even Brandon Ayuk, who deserves that type of compensation in return for that.
A couple of people have asked about this, starting with Victor. He was the first in with it, saying it's now being speculated that the 49ers are going after Cortland Sutton in a 3-team trade. Your thoughts?
Have you seen those? Have you seen that speculation?
I've seen the speculation.
Yeah. Is it just more? Is that just what it is? It's just the 49ers get Cortland Sutton, the Steelers get Brandon Ayuk?
Well, it was never said explicitly where I saw it, and it was also unnamed dog face profile picture alluding to it. So again,
okay,
well, what was you will?
Okay. I mean, that would be crazy. I've never seen a 3-team NFL trade before in my lifetime. I'm sure that they've happened. Maybe they haven't. I don't know. But I would say no. I would say that I don't believe that that's a possibility. Look, if that's going to like sweeten the deal and the Steelers are going to have to send something to Denver in exchange for Cortland Sutton and then they get Brandon, sure. Like if that's what Cortland Sutton's half the cost of Brandon Ayuk. So if that's what you want to do, fine. But I got a hard time believing that's going to happen. And why not just go get Cortland Sutton? Like, I feel like that makes sense.
Let's go to Terry's next question. He says, if we do get Brandon Ayuk, does Van Jefferson have to give up number 11?
I don't know. I don't know. I talked to some guys about that today and was just like, do you think that he's really hung up on that number? You think he'd want to change numbers? What's the deal? I could tell you this, like Van Jefferson is probably very tight with number 11. If Brandon Ayuk wants it enough, he'll take some of that $30 million and he'll offer it to Van Jefferson and they could go from there. But I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Speaking of 30 million, the next question is, do you think if we trade for Ayuk, the contract can reach that $30 million mark? Props from Portugal, by the way.
Hey, shout out. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think it could get, I think it's more likely that it's 30 million plus than it is under 30 million. That being said, if I had to guess, it's like just like I wouldn't be shocked if it's like 29.85 because that just looks so much better than $30 million in the eyes of Omar Khan. But I would imagine, yeah, it's easily 29 plus. I have a hard time believing it's less. So 30 million is probably the mark.
X Concepts wants to talk about a report that we talked about yesterday on the show saying, could Jerry Dulac be lying about players being in trade to avoid locker room drama if that player ends up not being traded?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, like teams release information all the time. So maybe, definitely maybe. I don't know. I can't say. Like I could say maybe. Could Dulac be lying to avoid locker room drama? Maybe.
Let's go to Sorry, that's a different one. Let's go to Stephen A, who says, is there any weight behind reports that the Niners are trying to flip the Steelers picks into another player from another team? So instead of a 3-team trade, just kind of flipping it right after.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask. We go jump in a Grant Cohn live stream. Shout out my boy Grant Cohn, good dude. And I'm sure he knows. But I have not heard any of that. I've stuck solely on the Steelers side of this, of what's going on and their thoughts behind the scenes and what's happening. But to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, that would be once that happened. So that's the thing, is once Ayuk is in Pittsburgh, I don't think any of us would really be paying attention to the 49ers. So I couldn't tell you. Let's
go to Richard Hunt, who wants to know, I know the Steelers can talk to Ayuk. Is it possible Ayuk's agent told them that they should hold tight?
No. No, I don't think so. I like hold tight for a trade. I don't think so. I think that oh, sorry if I bumped the mic there. I believe that Ayuk wants to get a deal done very quickly. That's why it's heating up this fast, because this is not San Francisco saying, okay, let's just get something done. They'll wait it out. They'll figure it out. The growth for him is going to go up. Like, that's the biggest thing is you get a week away from the season and guys get hurt, your options are going to get bigger and the price tag is going to get bigger as well. So I don't think it's Ayuk. I believe it's Ayuk who wants to get out of there, and that's what's kind of pushing this up.
Let's go to Aaron, Aaron again. And let's go with the question, is it true that we offered a first-round pick in the draft for Brandon Ayuk?
From what I have heard, yes, that they did offer a first-round pick right before their first-round pick during the NFL draft, but it never went through, which is, I mean, if you're the San Francisco 49ers, you messed up big time. Big time. But at the same time, the Steelers got Troy Fautanu, and if they can pull this off and get Brandon Ayuk and Troy Fautanu, pretty good. Pretty good.
Let's go to Dietrich's question. Wants to know, since the offense is supposed to be run-oriented, does anyone know if Ayuk's a good run blocker? With him seeking a $30+ million contract, he might not be the right fit for what they're trying to do.
I don't even have a response here outside of just go to Google or go to YouTube and type in Brandon Ayuk or blocking highlights, and have a night, my friend. Have a night. Crack a beer, pour a glass of wine. I don't care. Order a pizza. That's your night right there, and it's going to be a good one. He's a phenomenal blocker, one of the best blocking wide receivers in the NFL. He's super physical, and there's a clip at one point last year went viral where he's like 30 yards down the field still laying dudes out, going 100%. That's who this dude is. So, yeah, great blocker.
Christian McCaffrey's long touchdown run against the Steelers was sprung by Brandon Ayuk, absolutely demolishing somebody in the Steelers secondary.
Yes, exactly. Dude's phenomenal. He's actually more fun. Like, he's a phenomenal wide receiver. I still think he's the most underrated wide receiver in football. I think he is the best blocking wide receiver in football. Yeah.
Let's go to Ryan's question here on Brandon Ayuk saga. Says, is there any chance we would be willing to give up Cam Hayward and possibly a 5th for Ayuk and a 6th?
No. That doesn't make sense for the 49ers. Cam Hayward's got 2 years left, 3 years left in his NFL career. That doesn't even out. And they have a good defensive line, like a really good defensive line. Former Pittsburgh Steeler defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, actually. So I would say no. Also, the Steelers are not looking to trade Cam Hayward. I know that it makes sense to a degree, but they're not looking to do so.
Let's go over to Jim's question. He wants to know, do you think San Francisco was in a hurry, but now Debo and Pearsall and McCaffrey could be hurt, so they're rethinking re-signing or at least waiting to see about those injuries?
Maybe. That could be stalling some things. It does make some sense. Not during the preseason, but I don't know. Like, the only thought that you'd have to have there is, okay, are we getting rid of Debo Samuel? Because you still can't pay Brandon Ayuk unless you get rid of Debo Samuel. So that would be the only alternative there.
Let's go to Casey Benson's question here. He says, big fan of the show. Tune into all the time. Noah, if BA signs by the end of the show, over under 7.5 beers at Sharky's tonight.
Casey, what a question there. That's awesome. If he signs by the end of the show, there's a game tomorrow night, and we got to do the podcast in the morning. Over under 7.5. I got to drive home. I'd probably go, there are hotel rooms. Alan Saunders lives out here. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd go the collective, the normal, like the over under on average, over. Easy. Myself, I kind of feel like a bitch saying this, but I might have to go under.
Let's go to Marlon's question here now. Besides James Daniels or Dan Moore, who's another name that could be moved for Brandon Ayuk?
I think James Daniels is it. Calvin Austin, if you're going to toss him in there, which would stink, man. I love Calvin Austin. I don't know. James Daniels seems like the only one that, Dan Moore makes sense, but I don't know if you want Dan Moore, if they're going to give up Dan Moore. Like, James Daniels is a starter. He's young. He's a starter. He looks really good. He's a proven guy in this league. He makes the most sense. Dan Moore makes some sense as well. I would say Calvin Austin, but I don't feel good about that one.
Let's go to GC, who says, at this point, is there a bigger chance he lands with us rather than staying in San Francisco?
I would say it's even 50-50. If I had to guess where he's going to end up, it's going to be Pittsburgh. But the only two options I see for this right now, where we currently stand, and it could change rapidly at any time. I mean, the Baltimore, let's just toss a good example. The Baltimore Ravens could call tomorrow and say, hey, we're in on this now. Brandon Ayuk's going to want to go to Baltimore. The Kansas City Chiefs can call tomorrow and say, hey, we're in on this. He's going to want to go to Kansas City. Like, he doesn't want to go to Cleveland because Cleveland's not a Super Bowl contender. He doesn't want to go to New England because New England's not a Super Bowl contender. That's why he wants to come to Pittsburgh. So I would say right now it's 50-50, or I would lean heavier towards the Steelers, but those are my two most likely outcomes of this. Yes.
That's the last Ayuk question coming. Do you want us to jump into other questions then?
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep the questions rolling here. Let's go with the questions, and then we will we'll dive into some players to watch tomorrow morning.
Let's go to Rel's question then. He says, why does it feel like Justin has to be perfect to win this job, but Russell doesn't have to be perfect to keep the job?
That's a great question, my friend. That is a great question. I will say this, that there are differences in perfect when it comes to both of these quarterbacks. So, or differences in imperfections, I should say. That's a better way to put this. Is when it comes to Justin Fields, his biggest issue is not, oh man, he doesn't have a rocket of an arm or he's not athletic. It's he processes the game much slower than he should. That's his issue. When it comes to Russell Wilson, it's he tries to play hero ball. And I mean, hero ball is played all the time in the NFL, and it's not the best way to go about anything, obviously, and it gets you into some trouble from time to time, but you could work with hero ball. You can't always work with processing the field slower, and that's the differences. Is Justin's imperfection can lead to some troubles. Russ's is going to lead to less troubles, and because of that, that's where they stand. I'm not saying I'm pro Russ over Justin, because I don't know if I am. I'm just saying when it comes to that question, that's how I feel.
Let's go to Casey next. Casey says, do you think Russ plays in any of the preseason games? And if not, what does Justin have to do in the preseason starts to really put pressure on for Russell Wilson in that starting position?
I mean, he's got to ball out. Like it's got to be crazy. It has to be so impossible to deny that this dude is going to be a, Pro Bowler MVP conversation type of guy. That's what I believe. Because right now, like, he looks good. He looks good. There aren't moments where you're like, oh, Justin stinks. Not anymore, at least. There were at the beginning of training camp. But that's like the Steelers have made it very known, like that doesn't matter. So he's got to look like there is indisputable evidence that he should be the guy. No questions asked. You're crazy not to do it for that change to happen, I believe.
Let's go to No Coast Golf that says Logan Lee is currently third on the depth chart. How's he looking in camp? And do you think he'll move up in the chart based on his performance?
Yeah. The first depth chart, there are a couple positions that it means something for. There are a couple positions that it means nothing for. Logan Lee, I expect to move up in the depth chart depending on who stays. The difference there is, like, he'll be a backup technically, or I guess he'll still be a third string, but he'll be the number 2 backup. So it'll go, if he's playing, let's say, defensive end, it's Larry Ogunjobi, Dean Lowry, and then him, and then the other side will be Cam Hayward, DeMarvin Leal, Isaiah Loudermilk. It doesn't really matter along the defensive line. All of those guys are going to get playing time. So the depth chart's weird with defensive tackles because there's only 2 positions and there's a lot of them, but they rotate quite a bit.
Let's go to Marlon's question. He takes us back to the QB competition, saying, how much of it is Tomlin stirring the pot to drive the competition?
I don't know. I think it's Tomlin stirring the pot to drive us. I really do. Like, I think it's Mike Tomlin just kind of being Mike Tomlin. And to a degree being very straightforward that we have to calm down with the quarterback talk. And also at the same time, like, hey, this is a competition. Like, I want you guys to be very known that it's a competition, but it's not an even competition. And I'm continuing to say that, and he's continuing to say that. Like, I don't know. I think it's him being very straightforward, and we're trying to read into it. Maybe we should just look at it for what it is.
Let's go to Steven's question. He says, if Harris signs with another team after this year. He corrected it later. Do you think the Steelers will keep
I
up
was gonna say.
with the 1-2 punch on the ground? And if so, do you think the running back will come as a free agent or drafted?
I believe that it'll most likely be a draft pick. Jalen Warren would be the top guy, and then it would be whoever they add. They would stick with the 1-2 punch. The Steelers are never going to go away from a 1-2 punch after this because of what they have in Najee and Jalen. And the NFL is just going in that direction. You need multiple running backs. They're going to go try to find another one behind Jalen.
Let's go to Charlie's question next. Says, if Russell Wilson does win the job, does the better Justin play in the preseason make Russell's leash any shorter if he starts to struggle?
No, I don't believe so. I don't, and I could be wrong there, but I don't believe so. I don't believe it's. Look, Kenny Pickett was not very good last season. Okay, Matt Canada was terrible for a long time. A lot of offensive linemen have been bad in years past. There have been wide receivers who have struggled, and tight ends, and offensive and defensive linemen, and corners, and so on and so forth. If you are a rookie that's coming in here like Joey Porter Jr., you can create a shorter leash on a veteran. But if you are a guy like Russell Wilson, in Mike Tomlin's eyes, you almost don't deserve to have a leash, and therefore he's not going to give him one. So I would say no. Again, in my head, I don't know if I agree with it, but that's just how Mike Tomlin thinks.
Let's move over to Vibin with the Dogs, who says, when do we see Broderick Jones transition to left tackle full time?
I don't know. I think it's coming soon. I do believe it's coming soon. He's been taking left tackle 2 reps. It's weird to see him as a backup during practice sometimes, but today he ran all right tackle, and he expects tomorrow to play in the game at right tackle. I talked to him today, and I don't know. I think it's going to come. I don't know when it's going to come, but I do believe it will. It's at the same time, I'm excited to see what Dan Moore does in a real offense with a real offensive coordinator, because I mean, I saw it today. I don't know who did it, but I saw it today that, like, if everybody wants to talk about Justin Fields has all this potential with a real offense, why can't Dan Moore have better potential than he's had the last couple of years? I think that's a good point. I'm not trying to support Dan Moore starting over Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones. I'm just saying that could be a reality.
Let's go to Sean LaRock's question, who says, for what you've seen from camp, is Beanie Bishop still making a rise of getting a starter spot or a secondary spot? And do you feel that there are middle linebackers still looking better and better each day?
So Beanie Bishop, in my eyes, is still going to get the starter spot. Corey Trice could chase him down for that. He's taken a good amount of reps the past couple of days, which has come out of nowhere and is good to see. But Beanie Bishop, in my eyes, is still the guy, and he's still on the rise. He still looks really good. Middle linebacker, I mean, these guys still look great. Patrick Queen is still phenomenal. Peyton Wilson still looks very good. Tyler Matakevich had a good play today. Who am I missing? Landon Roberts. Landon Roberts came up to me at lunch today and said, he was like, I heard you called me an elite backup. And I was like, no, you're a starter, my friend. You are a starter. So they all look very, very good.
Let's go to Tu Shiesty, who wants to know, how do you feel about Roman Wilson taking a starting role?
I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, right now it's a no. In my eyes, it's a no. First off, he's not on the field. He's dealing with an ankle injury. So you gotta slow roll him back in, make sure that he's adjusted. He was taken off before the injury happened, and I thought he was in the running to be a starter. But I mean, it depends on when he comes back, how good he looks when he comes back. Is the ankle going to linger? Who knows? There's a bunch of questions. So right now, I don't see him as a starter until he gets back on the field, and then we could judge it again then.
Let's go to another Roman Wilson question. This one from Marlon says, was he out of his brace today at practice?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was wearing 2 high black socks, which bit of a jerk move, Roman, sorry, but shouldn't have done that. But yeah, he was out of the brace.
Let's go to Lifted One. Says, happy Groundhog Day, boys. What are your expectations for tomorrow's preseason game?
Wow, was it Groundhog? Is it really Groundhog Day?
No, he's talking about IU. Groundhog Day is in February, my friend.
Phenomenal. I didn't know. We live in Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania. So yeah, sorry. That was on me. Yeah, that's a good one. My expectations for the preseason game tomorrow is we're going to get a good chunk of Justin Fields in the first quarter. We're going to get a lot of running football. George Pickens is going to have a play or two. The defense is going to look good. And then you're going to get to watch guys like Darius Rush and Corey Trice. And I mean, Ryan Watts is a good one. Peyton Wilson's going to get a good chunk of reps. You're going to get to DeMarvin Leal and Isaiah Loudermilk. How high of a step did they take? It's just about answering all these questions. My expectation is really just to see, like, the first time they're out there, how good do a lot of guys that were waiting on answers for look?
Let's go to Dalton, who wants to know, who is your pick for a secret weapon that the Steelers currently have on their roster?
I want to go Darnell Washington. That wants to be my answer. He looks like he could be a bit of a secret weapon, but at the same time, like, is a secret weapon catching 4-yard passes that are guaranteed hauls in and probably touchdowns? I mean, maybe, could be. Jack Colletto is going to be my other answer though, because Michael Pruitt. That's my answer. Easy answer. Boom. There it is. He looks good. He looks so crazy good. I don't know how you keep him off the roster. I don't know how you keep Jack Colletto off the roster. I have no say in the matter, but I would keep them both.
Let's go to Tyler's question next. He says, fellas, how big of a difference do you expect Patrick Queen will make for this defense this year? I would not be surprised if he ends up being the best offseason pickup for the whole league.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think he's definitely in the running there. For sure in the running there. Patrick Queen is just so good. Like, he's so good. And he's an inside linebacker, so you don't always get all the credit. Like, if you talk about some of the best players in the league, the fact that Fred Warner isn't in the top 10 of the best players in the NFL every season is wild to me, because he is in the top 10 of the best players in the NFL year after year. And the inside linebackers just don't get that credit. So I agree with you. He's going to be nuts. He just looks so athletic, so good, and just so fluid out there at all times.
Let's move over to Dalton's question. He wants to know, how many innings/offensive possessions do you think each quarterback's going to have tomorrow?
I believe that Justin Fields gets a quarter, unless he goes down touchdown like Kenny Pickett did a year ago. Then you pull him. I believe Justin gets a quarter. Kyle Allen gets the next 2 quarters, and then John Rice Plumlee finishes off in the 4th. That's what I think happens.
Let's answer Teeman's question next. Teeman wants to know, we got our 3rd string last year in Mason Rudolph. Do you think Kyle Allen can get us out of a stadium with a win in a couple games if need be?
I mean, look, my explanation to this, my answer to this is very simple, and it's a great question to ask. If you are a football team that is down to your 3rd string quarterback, you should not have expectations of doing much. But I do think Kyle Allen is a very good quarterback 3 and could get you out of some games. I mean, he started a couple of games in his career. He's won a couple of games in his career. So, yeah, I think the answer to that is yes.
Joe Weber wants to know, what do we do with Cam Sutton if Beanie Bishop turns out to be a dog in the slot?
You keep him. You keep him. He's worth $500,000 this season. And he's a starting corner on a lot of teams. You keep him. He could play safety. He could play the outside. He could play the inside. B. Bishop could be a dog, and you want to start him all season. Cool. He could be a dog. You still need backups. And Cam Sutton, if he is the backup, is the best backup the Steelers have had in a long, long time. Since Cam Sutton was the backup the last time, that's the last time the Steelers had a backup as good as Cam Sutton.
Let's go to Jonathan's question next. He wants to know, do you think Justin's rushing ability fits better into Arthur Smith's system than Russ?
No, I don't. I don't. I believe that Justin allows you to do cooler things like the read option and some of that stuff, but I don't think that this offense is designed for a quarterback run system. I believe it's just designed for a running system. And yeah, Justin might add a little bit of flair to it, but I don't believe that it's designed specifically for, we have to have a mobile quarterback. I think and the bigger thing there is that Arthur Smith's a good offensive coordinator, which means that, and I know that fans, they've gotten adjusted, man. They've gotten adjusted to, and we all have. We've gotten adjusted to an offense that is built from the offensive coordinator, that is not allowed to be changed for the personnel that the offensive coordinator has in front of him. Good offensive coordinators, they build offenses around their offense, and that includes their quarterback. So I think they'll be fine.
Let's go to Beer Malls, who says Pickens, 1,200-yard season, Najee, 1,200-yard season, or both of them?
Both. My guess would be both. I guess would definitely be both. I think both of them are 1,000-yard guys easy, and 1,200 is very capable for both of them, for sure.
Jim D wants a little preview of tomorrow's show. Says, who are you looking forward most to seeing play in the first game, and who needs to have a do or die performance, or they're out?
So I won't dive into them. Okay, we'll explain them tomorrow because I still want to. The problem with having a show tonight and then having a show first thing tomorrow morning is,
Not
there
much happens.
people can only tweet about Brandon Ayuk so often. So we're gonna have to come up with other things to talk about. And we want to preview the game like really heavy. So my guys that I'm watching that I'm looking forward to the most, I'll give you 5 of them. Jack Coletto. This is outside of Justin Fields. Justin Fields obviously headlines that list, but we're not going to toss him out here. Jack Coletto, Jack Coletto, Darnell Washington is a big one. Pat Fryermuth could go hand in hand with that one, but I won't count him as an extra one. Jack Coletto, Darnell Washington, Michael Pruitt, Calvin Austin is a big one, and Van Jefferson can go next to him as well, because I believe that this is a big game to see who Van Jefferson is. And on the other side of the football, Beanie Bishop, easy. Deshaun Elliott, certainly. Peyton Wilson, 100%. And then you could go Dante Jackson, but I don't have low expectations for him. I have very high expectations for him. So those would be the guys I'm looking forward to. I'll explain why tomorrow.
Offsides Edits wants to know, we aren't talking about Nate Herbig enough. Do you think he'll bail out this preseason game or ball out this preseason game?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I still remember I asked Terrell Austin during minicamp. I was like, hey, does Nick look like a guy who's ready to take a second year leap? And he big smile. And he's like, hey, he's showing that he's got the stuff to do so. So yeah, I think Nick Herbig. Oh, we're talking Nate Herbig. Oh, this is a little tricky. This is a little switch up. I think he might mean Nick. Nick's gonna ball out in the preseason game. Nate, if we're talking about center Nate, I think he's very reliable offensive player and offensive lineman. I like Nate Herbig. I'm a big fan of his, actually. And I think he's the reason that if you did give up James Daniels, you're okay with it, because you have a guy in Nate who could bounce the guard and I think is center capable.
Joe wants to know, if we don't get Brandon Ayuk, what do you think the ceiling is for the Steelers this year?
The same as it is. Like, I think Brandon Ayuk helps you in your Super Bowl push. I believe that Brandon Ayuk makes you a better contender, obviously, but I still don't think the Steelers are a team that I'm looking at as like a 9-8 team. Like, I believe they're a 10, 11 win team, and they could go on a playoff run, and that should be the expectation, whether Ayuk's here or not.
Let's go over to Vibin with the Dogs, who says both Russ and Justin run into sacks and had about the same amount of interceptions. At what point do you just roll the highs and lows of Justin?
It's not about the highs and lows. It's not about running yourselves into sacks. It's about processing the field. Justin's got to process the field better before he could be all the time you could bank on this guy. You see the potential in him. And there's a ton of potential in Justin Fields, a ton. But the reason that the Steelers are being cautious with this and rolling with the other guy, the veteran, is because, yeah, Russ runs himself into sacks and Russ does throw interceptions. All quarterbacks do. But he also wins games and he processes the field so much quicker. And because of that, you can work with it and it's less of a risk. So that's why, I mean, I get it. I get the question. I get the upside of Justin Fields. And I think I lean more towards Justin Fields than Russell Wilson, but I understand where the Steelers are coming from, because Russ comes with much less risk and most likely much less lows than Justin Fields.
AJ wants to know, any chance Zach Frazier works his way into a week 1 starting job?
Yeah, I think that's a given. I think Mike Tomlin hinted at that yesterday, that he's going to work his way into the starting job. I mean, that could come with a number of reasons or a number of ways, but yeah, I think that's going to happen. He's looked good. He's looked very good.
Let's go to the next question. Spurk aside, I believe is what that is. If you had to bet on Fields to Pickens for a touchdown first drive, how much are you putting down?
Football is back, baby. Oh, this one got me excited. This one got the chills going a little bit. I'm, a little tingly. This is nice. Fields to Pickens first touchdown. Oh, what are the odds? We're going plus, probably like plus 700 odds, plus 800 odds on that one.
Probably. I'm sure it's the lowest odds of tomorrow, but I'd say that probably.
I'm putting minimum. I'm first touchdown. I never get crazy. I'm not $100 bet guy on the first touchdown. But I max it out at 10, and I'd go the max. I'd go 10. I go 10. I might put 15. I might say screw it. I might put 25. I might put 25.
Let's go to No Coast Golf, who wants to know, as an Iowa fan, how's the Steelers punt game looking?
Is Cameron Johnson from Iowa?
Let me look that up real quick.
I don't know. Like, I'm intrigued by the start of this.
No, he played at Ohio State, from what I'm seeing.
Okay, so
I mean, Iowa punts a lot, so maybe that's
maybe
why.
Iowa punts all the time, man. You're right there. You're right there. It's looking strong. It's looking real strong. Not as strong as Iowa's, obviously, but it is. Cameron Johnson looks real good. Real good.
Let's go to Aaron Ball, who says, are we going to see Big Mace at guard tomorrow? Talking about Mason McCormick.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to get a ton of playing time tomorrow. I would imagine he gets a majority of the game tomorrow at guard, 100%.
James wants to know, why are they keeping Frazier out of the first team reps right now? Is he another Kendrick Green?
No, he is not another Kendrick Green. Zach Frazier is going to be fine. Nate Herbig's a very reliable offensive lineman, like I said. So that's why you let Zach Frazier prove himself before you hand him anything. Because last time you handed somebody something, it was Kendrick Green, and it didn't work out well. And shout out Kendrick, man. Kendrick was a good dude, and I hope he's doing well in Houston and recovering well. But yeah, no, I just don't think you're going to hand him anything. But I do expect him to start week 1.
Biggie asks, why was Connor Hayward ahead of Coletto? You seem very confident in Jack Coletto.
I mean, look, if you wanted to ask me what are we doing here? I almost cursed, and I didn't because I held my professional, and we are in St. Vincent College right now, and I'm not trying to be that guy. My what the heck moment looking at that depth chart was easily the fullback position, which should never happen. There should never be a debate on who the fullback is. You should have a fullback. They do have one. His name's Jack Coletto. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. But that's what they did. I'm very confident. Like, I'm not stirring you guys wrong either. I asked Jalen Warren today. I got a video of it. I'll put it up right now. I asked Jalen Warren. I said, "Yo, what's it like having Jack Coletto back there?" And you know that you sparked something when a guy smiles at you. And Jalen just smiles, and he's just like, "It's nice." I was like, "Yeah, I know it is," because he's freaking great at fullback. So I don't know. That one's crazy. That one's crazy to me.
Casey Benson wants to know, how many Pro Bowlers are coming out of Pittsburgh this year? He says 5.
Oh, all right. Let's try to guess the 5. Minka, TJ, easy. 1, 2, boom, boom. George, first time Pro Bowler, potentially.
I could see that. Yep,
I could see that. Patrick Queen, second time Pro Bowler. I could see that too. That's 4. Who else we getting there?
I was going to say Najee.
Oh, Najee, second time Pro Bowler. What about Pat Freiermuth? Oh, you got Travis Kelce. And Mark Andrews. Yeah, not happening. Najee's a good one. Yeah, I like that. I like those.
Let's go to Tyler Dotz, who wants to know, do you think Pickens will hold in or out next year, set to only make $1.6 million on his last year of his rookie deal?
I mean, that depends on if Brandon Ayuk's in town or not, because if George Pickens is holding in and Brandon Ayuk's sitting there like, I don't know what you're sitting here for, pal. I'm making your money. Your contract is my contract. I just don't think that's possible. I would say maybe, potentially, but that's a long way away. There's a lot of things that got to happen between now and then before that's a conversation to be had. But that's definitely on the table for sure. Unfortunately, it is.
Douglas has 2 questions here. Says, sorry, just got into here. Have 2 questions. How was Pickens today, first and foremost? And secondly, where are we at with Brandon Ayuk for those who are tuning in later?
So George Pickens looked good. Today was a walkthrough, pointless day for anybody to be here. I felt bad for the fans that were here, to be honest with you. Like, people were asking, we got asked yesterday, like, when do the pads come on? I felt bad for anybody who was like, this is the day I'm going to training camp practice. Unless you're going to the game tomorrow, then it's worth it. But I felt bad because walkthroughs are boring, super boring. Where we're at with Brandon Ayuk is right now we're waiting, man. It's gone quiet, which means that everybody who said that this is right at the goal line, right at the finish line, this is going to happen right now, maybe jumped the gun a little bit. And from what I've been told, yeah, there's optimism, but that optimism is not as strong as everybody is trying to make it seem. So they expect it to happen, but they're not guaranteeing anything.
Aiden Alexander's holding your feet to the fire a little bit here, saying, how many passing touchdowns do you think the Steelers have this year? Last year, between the three quarterbacks, they
I'm
had
excited for this one.
13 touchdowns.
13 touchdowns?
They had 13 passing touchdowns last year.
Oh my gosh. That's 13 touchdowns?
Do you want the breakdown?
I do, actually.
Kenny Pickett led the team with 6. Mitch Trubisky had 4, and Mason Rudolph had 3.
That's atrocious. That's so embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. That's crazy. Wow. That's nuts. George Pickens had 2 multiple touchdown games. That's nuts. That is nuts. Okay. I'd probably say 25 minimum, but I would say 25 to 30. Like, it wouldn't shock me if it hit 30. But it just depends. Like, if not, like, you just don't know how it's going to work. Scoring's down in the NFL, so you got to take that into account. How many touchdowns a game is Najee going to have? How many touchdowns a game is Jalen going to have? How many touchdowns on the season is the defense going to have? I could say 25 to 30 I'd feel good about, but maybe 30 plus. Maybe 30 plus.
So to Cole's next question, who wants to know, now that it looks like Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin are looking good in camp, do you even think that the Steelers need Brandon Ayuk? Do you feel it would be a waste of money and players in the trade?
Nope. I think that Brandon Ayuk is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I think that Van Jefferson looks good. I think Calvin Austin looks good. I think both of them combined are not Brandon Ayuk. So I don't think it's a waste of money. You could afford it, so do it. And I do think that Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin still have a role on this team. So keep them and get everybody involved and just boost up your offense. It's the same thing as like it's as simple as let's just pick somebody crazy. You know what I mean? Somebody nuts. Travis Kelce, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes. Would you really want to go get them if Justin Fields looks good at practice or Pat Fryermuth? Yes, the answer is still yes. I get where you're coming from 100%, and it makes a lot of sense. But if you could afford them, go get them. Go get them.
Let's go to Victor's question, who asks about tomorrow's game. Says, are the Texans bringing out their first-string defense or only their offense?
No, I've heard that everybody's playing. All the starters are playing, which is good. And I laughed because Broderick was asked today if he's looking forward to Will Anderson, and he was like, yeah, that was the first game I started. So full circle moment here for that guy. But yeah, it is going to be the first defense too.
Let's go to Steven's question. It says, do you think Smith will have any gadget plays mixed into the playbook? And if so, do you think they would be a better fit for Russell's play style or Justin Fields' play style?
Depends on what the gadget play is. If it's a read option, Justin Fields, obviously. But I could see Russ being better with RPOs. I could see, guys like Jalen Warren, Najee Harris taking some snaps. I could see Calvin Austin being worked in the backfield. There's a lot going on. It depends on the gadget play. I think there's a lot that you could do that isn't just our read options that work very well in an offense.
Let's go to Sean's question, and this is a very important one. He says, so before the season starts, do we think Noah will get some new plants for the background this season? And does he keep them alive the whole way through?
Look at that. I get it that everybody thinks that the bamboo is dead, but it's not. It is striving. It's been around for 8 years since I've gotten into Pittsburgh. It's looked like that the entire time. It still gets bigger every day. I'll share a picture tomorrow's episode. We'll show you the whole bamboo. It's huge. It's got a little guy growing next to it now for the last 3-4 months. It's alive. It's alive. The other ones I struggle with, but the bamboo, man, I haven't taken it out of the pot ever since I've put it in there. When I showed up, it was this big. It's alive. It's alive. But yes, you got a new office. Go ahead.
I was going to say, now I know you got really into this one, so I know not to go after your botany skills at all.
No, I got a whole garden, man. I am the gardener. Okay. I try to be the plant guy. I'm not good at it, but I try to be the plant guy. New office is coming soon. So the plant might be gone because I don't even got a window behind me. So That would stink, actually. Might have to find a place for the bamboo plant. Don't have it over there yet.
Let's go to Douglas's question. Wants to know, how much do the Steelers currently have in salary cap space?
I believe it's 15.8, maybe $16 million. Just about. Oh, they also restructured Cole Holcomb's, added $3 million there. So I'd say just under 19, I'm guessing.
Yeah, according to overthecap.com, it's 15.6, but I'm not sure if they included Holcomb's restructuring yet. They did not.
Yeah, okay. So we're about $18.6 million. Brandon Ayuk costs 14.9.
It fits.
Take it as you will.
Let's go to Cole's question. Says, I'm from California and planning on going to the Jets game in Pittsburgh. Is that going to be a good one in your eyes?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, if he's healthy, it'd be a great matchup. It's on Monday night, right? Sunday night. It's one of those primetime games. You guess that one as a win. I guess that one as a loss, I think.
Yeah.
So if you're leaning Nick, yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Let's go over to Xavier's question that says, do you think we could possibly get Amari Cooper in a trade since the Browns are looking to move him in the 49ers trade for Ayuk?
Look, I don't know. Maybe that is true. Maybe it's not true. I have no idea. I'll say this. If it is true, if they were really sitting there saying Amari Cooper is available, the Browns be the Browns, my friend. The Browns be the Browns. They've already paid him for this season. Like, they could get rid of him. They still pay him for this season. Not the 49ers, not the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cleveland Browns pay him for the season. Why? It would be wild if they traded him. That being said, the Browns be the Browns, man, and they'd be doing some things. As for the Steelers, I would say very slim to no chance because AFC North, you're not going to make that trade. But, I mean, if he goes to San Francisco, that'd be wild. Just wild.
Malcolm says, I get the feeling that a lot of people underestimate the Steelers this year, but I can't see why. What do you think about this underestimation of the Steelers this season?
I mean, underestimation comes with teams that aren't the Kansas City Chiefs, and it even comes with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that's just, here's the thing. In the NFL, everybody's going to talk about how bad you are at all times, and they're going to hype up the most random, nonchalant guys. You know, that's just what happens. They love the underdogs. They love the nobodies. They love trying to make Sam Darnold look like a superstar while Patrick Mahomes is throwing incomplete passes, you know, and Josh Allen is going to throw a million interceptions. That's just what they do. It's just what the NFL is. I wouldn't be too worried about it. Pittsburgh Steelers would put it on the field, and we'll see come September. That's what'll happen.
Trey Davison, says, how do you think the offensive line comes out tomorrow? Broderick on the left, Troy on the right, or Dan Moore on the left, Broderick on the right?
Yeah, Broderick confirmed today that he'll be on the right. Dan will be on the left. So that's how I see it. If I had to guess, it'll be Dan Moore, James Daniels, Nate Herbig, Isaac Seumalo. Isaac's not playing, so Spencer Anderson, and then Broderick Jones. That would be my guess.
Let's finish it off with James's question. He says, how many sacks does the Steelers defense get this season?
That's what they get last season.
That's what I'm looking up right now.
That's a good question.
Defense sacks finished with 47 last year.
I'm going to say 55. That allows TJ to get somewhere around 20, which is where I expect Alex Highsmith to creep into the 10, into the teens, and everybody else to kind of get there. I'm going to say 55. I'm going to say what team led the league in sacks last year? That's a better question.
Let me look that up.
And what was that number? Because if that number is like 70, I might go higher than 55.
Team defense. Jesus. ESPN makes it very difficult to get to the.
Yeah, some of these stat lines are crazy online to find.
Yeah, I can't get to that one right now because ESPN doesn't have it.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to go 55.
Let's say Baltimore had 60.
Okay, I'm going to go 60. 60 is not like high enough for me to drastically improve this number. I'm going to stick with 55. 55 is a good number for me.
Fair enough. And then I do have one more here because No Coast Golf asked a really good question. Outside of offensive coordinator, were there any other significant coaching changes during the offseason that you'd see as a good change?
Oh, yeah. Every one of them. Tom Arth is a phenomenal quarterbacks coach. I've heard nothing but great things about that guy. Zach Azzani, I've heard a lot of good things about Zach Azzani. And then just like you have so many minute guys that like, are like Denzel, the outside linebackers coach, Denzel. Oh man, I'm gonna blank on his last name. I apologize, Denzel. You're a great dude. This is his second and a half year, I guess, as the outside linebackers coach. Like, you're just going to improve every year that you're doing this, and you could see those things. So, yeah, Tom Arth would be my big one, but Zach Azzani would definitely follow for sure.
And shout out Denzel Martin.
Denzel Martin, such an easy name too. My bad.
That's a wrap for today, then.
Awesome. With that said, guys, we are heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, please go find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. We will be back at normal time tomorrow, 9 a.m., 9:30, just about, going live from back home before we head to the game tomorrow night. We'll preview all of Steelers versus Texans, obviously provide the latest updates and chaos surrounding the Brandon Ayuk trade rumors and who we're looking forward to in the first preseason opener for the Pittsburgh Steelers. With that said, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.